Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Vanetta Miles, and I am doing a presentation on TELPAS accountability along with Ms. Bianca from my class. All right, so we went over this already, right? Who participates, who does not participate. Any questions here before I go to the next slide? Okay. All right, so. All right, so we're gonna look at on the right-hand side here. Again, TELPAS components, it's gonna be, there's two parts. It's gonna be, of course, it's gonna be online, but there's a listening and speaking test. So depending on your grade level, for example, if you are 7th grade, we'll be doing the reading and writing test first, and on day 2, the listening and speaking. For 6th and 8th grade, we'll be doing the listening and speaking first. We're doing that because of the headphones. We have limited number of headphones, and our biggest number is 7th grade, so that's why they're taking the listening and speaking by themselves. Okay. And of course, this will be an online test. So, exceptions to an EV student being assessed on one or more domain languages, and EV students receiving special services. So, we're the state classes that we're taking TELPAS off, and not the regular TELPAS that we'll be taking with 6th and 8th grade. And then, of course, if they're from another district, they're enrolled after the first day of the TELPAS window, they will not be taking these. And of course, our testing days for Welch Middle School, day 1 on February 25th. If you're testing 6th and 8th grade, you're listening and speaking. If you're 7th grade, you're reading and writing. And I know from the room we have 7th graders, but 2 of you are going to be testing in 7th grade. I believe that's going to be Ms. Williams and Ms. Brown. And then Ms. Jolly will be doing 6th grade, and then 8th grade they won't have any because they have a small number of 8th graders already. And then, of course, the next day, it'll flip. So if you're testing reading and writing on the first day, you're listening and speaking on the next day, and vice versa. And of course, you know that TELPAS is an online test for grades 2 to 12. So listening and speaking will be in all grades, and of course, for our middle school, it's going to be 6th and 8th, so they're all taking listening and speaking. They're going to include the passage-based questions, non-passage-based questions. They're going to listen to videos and answering questions from the videos, doing drag and drop. The speaking, they're going to be required to speak. Now, we've trained them on how to do the speaking. They're not TELPAS camp, if you remember. So they're going to be using the skills that they learned from TELPAS camp to be doing the listening and the speaking. So they should have the scratch paper. Be mindful, though, on the day of the test, we cannot tell them to use their strategies. We're just going to provide them with the resources and have them show what they know. If I leave anything out, let me know. All right. And of course, we have the online reading and writing test, which will be on another day of testing. Again, they'll be for all grades 6 through 8. 6th and 7th are going to have the same test, and 8th and 9th will have the same test. So when they log in and they select their test, if they're an 8th grader, it'll say 8th and 9th, 8th through 9th grade. And just let them know that it's the right test, because they'll be like, oh, why is this 9th grade here? And then same thing with 6th and 7th, they're taking the same test.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Some of you who are test administrators on that day, make sure that the students are clicking the right test. If there's 6th grade, they should be clicking listening and speaking. Because when I open the test, I will open listening and speaking, that's across 6th, 7th, and 8th. But only 6th and 8th will be taking the test. And then reading, I will open reading and writing test as well, but only 7th grade will take the test on that day. So just be careful if you're a test administrator.
Exactly, okay? And then of course, text-to-speech feature is provided for the written direction lines and for the prompts. It's not gonna read the actual text to them. And it starts kind of the same way as well. It won't read the text to them, just the directions to them.
Don't read that, that's for me.
Okay. All right, so as we know that, so TELPAS is a secure test, right? So on testing day, the students are gonna have testing tickets. It's gonna have their first name only, and we're gonna go a little bit more into that in the testing plan, but first name only, that's how they're gonna get into the test. It'll have their 10-digit TSDS number. That's not the ID that they give to the cafeteria, it's the 10-digit state ID. You're gonna have test booklets to read the directions in the manual, and of course you'll have those secure test instructions. You'll also be getting a roster, so that you'll know which students you're testing. Make sure that when you are testing, that the kids that are on the paper that you're given, the roster, you're testing those students. If those students come in late and they come to your classroom and they're on the roster, send them out. Do not test anyone that is not on your roster. That's very important. Okay. Any questions there? All right, so remember that TELPAS is an online practice assessment. It's an online reading and writing by grade clusters. So of course you'll have 6th and 7th together, 8th and 9th will be together, and just kind of reiterates that. Okay. They'll be interacting with passages, answering questions. Basically the way that they practice. You know how we did our TELPAS camps? It looked the exact same way. There are some best practices. There's a maximum allowable testing time of 7 hours for the test. So basically they do have all day for testing. Will they take all day? Most of them won't take 7 hours to take the test, but the time is available for them if they need it. Okay. Students are expected to complete the TELPAS test in about 3 hours. We usually find on those reading and writing days and those speaking days, they tend to take a little longer because they're writing down what they're gonna say before they actually record themselves speaking. Remember, they only have 2 chances to record themselves. That's why we train them during TELPAS camp to write down what you're gonna say, practice it, and then record. Students must complete the assessment within the same school day, not to exceed 7 hours. So basically, at the end of 7 hours, if they're not done, we just give the test and submit. Because we can't give them the next day to finish the test. So make sure that we're pacing them and keeping them on task. Because what you're gonna see on test day for some of these students, they're gonna wanna doze off, go to sleep. So make sure that we're just pacing them and keeping them on track. All right, students who become sick during an assessment and leave campus during the assessment may complete the assessment as needed on a different day within the scheduled testing window. For TELPAS, our testing window goes all the way through right before spring break, the window.
March 6th.
March 6th, yes. So let's say that Juan is taking the test and he gets sick and has to go home. We'll put him in the makeup session and he'll come and he'll finish that on another day. Right?
May I say something? And
yeah,
that happens. You know, our students, they have test anxiety. Like once they see and once they know that this is the real deal, this testing, and they get sick. Now, we have hallway monitors, like some of you will be and some of you will be test administrators. Make sure just inform the hallway monitor that you need assistance in the classroom, inform us right away. Because we will pull out the student, we will assess if the students will continue or if the student needs to go home, and we'll just like continue the test the next day.
Yeah.
Don't panic, don't panic.
Yeah, exactly. Because we see it on Star a lot. These kids get test anxiety, they throw up on the computers, so they get at the end of the day. But I do want to note that that if that does happen and they come back the next day, it's going to start them where they stopped. It's not going to start the test over for them. And so if they got sick on number 13, that's where it's going to continue the next day. So make sure that they're mindful of that as well. And then of course, make sure that you locate your Ms. Beyonce or Dr. Brown. They're going to be the campus CTCs for TELPAS. If anything like that occur, let one of them know. Okay. Secure materials. So remember that TELPAS is a state assessment. We have to treat it with the same urgency as we would treat STAR. So that means that we have those secure assessment instruments. Make sure, confidentiality. So we make sure that we're not discussing the test with other teachers. And Mr. Crown will talk more about it during the testing plan. But when you'll have lunch in the classroom with students on testing day. It's okay if they talk, their quiet voices, but monitor the conversations. We don't want students talking about the test and saying, oh, number 13 was easy. So you want to make sure that you are very, very confidential. Don't talk about the test with other teachers. Do not allow the students to talk about the test with each other. And then keep your testing materials with you at all times. Those testing tickets, they are secure documents. So make sure that they're in the testing bins and that they're secured at all times. Okay? And then after testing, we'll pick those testing tickets back up and then I'll get it back the next day for testing. Any questions so far? All right, so there's two different types of testing incidents that may occur from district testing. Personnel actions taken before, during, or after testing, which are testing irregularities. So, testing personnel should understand the distinction between different types of testing incidents so that any that may occur may be properly reported and addressed. In other words, be mindful of what the students are doing. When they log into taking the TELPAS test, it has to be through the secure test browser, which is the apps. We see a lot of times students try to log in on the website and get to the test that way, and they make the screen bigger so that they can actually go and translate on another tab. That would be an example of a testing irregularity that must be reported.
May I say something, Ms. Massey?
Yes.
Testing incidents, there are two actually irregularities. One is showing right there procedural testing irregularity. The other one is the serious violation. Although the first one, procedural testing irregularity, is less severe, but still you will be written up and you will be reprimanded. So we'll avoid that one. Ms. Mouse will discuss in details what are those different procedural testing irregularities, monitoring, accommodations, accounting, and then the serious one is when your teacher certification is going to be on the line, and we want to avoid that.
Yeah, we're talking about cell phones too, because that would be a serious irregularity. So we do pick up phones, but you want to make sure that on the day of the test, those students there are no phones on these students. Because we know how they can be. If they come with backpacks, they can put it in front of the room. Make sure that's done away. We're going to pick up those cell phones at the beginning of testing. But for any reason, because we'll have district people on campus that day, they're going to make sure that we're actually administering the test the right way. So if they come into a classroom and they see students actually on their phone during testing, that could cost you your license. So you want to make sure that we're vigilant about students turning in their cell phones. So that'll be an example of a serious irregularity. That'll be something else. Okay. So other procedural irregularities are accounting errors. Improperly accounted for secure materials typically involve late, loss, or missing materials. Basically, in your bin, you have your testing tickets, you have your testing materials, but the main thing will be the testing tickets that are in there. Those are secure test documents. So if you have 16 testing tickets before you start testing, make sure that when you turn in your bins, you also have 16 testing tickets. And that'll be an example. So I'm going to just go down to the examples to give you some idea. Testing personnel lost or misplaced student test tickets are secure test materials. Session IDs, you're going to get a roster that has their TFTS number. That's going to be secure documents. Roster. Secure on
something.
Yeah.
Like, that's why test tickets are very important. Some of you may have experienced that. When you turn in your test tickets and you're missing one, I'm sorry, I send you back to your classroom, look for it.
Yeah.
Because the TSDS ID number is the student social security number.
Yes.
As Ms. Mouse had mentioned, it's not the ID number that they use like when they log in for their lunch, breakfast, or what. That is their social security number, and that is secure.
Right, yeah, so it's
Confidential.
very secure, very confidential, so make sure you do a count before and then a count after. Excuse me. And then you also have a paper that will have their session IDs, session name and IDs, that's also a secure document, because that's actually state testing material. Second bullet, secure online assessments are left wide open and visible, or secure materials are left unattended. Do not leave your door unlocked with the testing bin on your desk and it's just open and everything is exposed. That would be an example of a procedural irregularity, and that could also cost you your certification. Okay, so make sure that you have those secure at all times, locked up, or have it with you. And then bullet number 3, a student was issued test materials belonging to another student. So make sure you check those names. So if Juan is your tickets, Juan Lopez needs to go to Juan Lopez. We don't want to see Juan Lopez going to a Hector Lopez. So just be very, very careful when you're giving out the testing materials.
Can you always give that one to
Just give one.
Let illegibility, I'm sorry, illegibility errors is not much a concern on your end because that's on ours.
Okay.
Once they are identified EB, they're illegible and they are on your roster. So less chance for you for committing that error. And also accommodation, there's no accommodation provided for EB because
Oh, no.
the test is already made into accommodations, the lowest level and the listening and the speaking, everything is provided. STAR has. Okay,
Okay.
that one is important.
So this one's very important, monitoring, because when the district comes to kind of check, they're seeing how we're monitoring students. So as a test administrator, do not leave the room unattended. Let's say our students are working on their listening and speaking and say, oh, they're working quietly, I'm gonna go to the restroom. Don't do that. That's why you have the door signs, that's to have someone come and relieve you if you need to leave. So do not leave your room unattended. Do not monitor students during a break from testing. Do not ensure that all students report to the new testing room after consolidation, or did not ensure that they did not report to the new testing room. And then, of course, reinforce testing strategies. You cannot tell them, oh, check over your work. Oh, don't forget to make your graphic organizer. Everything we taught them at TELPAS camp, you are not speaking. Just give them the materials. Your job is to monitor and make sure that you're visible in the classroom. Okay, and just trust that when we taught them, they're going to implement it on the day of the test. So monitor, monitor, monitor. That's going to be the main thing that the district look for when they come to campus. This one too? Okay. So more procedural irregularities. A test administrator did not properly prepare a test environment. Make sure that everything is covered up. Even though, so let's say that Ms. Williams is assigned to Ms. Foster's room in the building. Even though it is not her classroom, she's a test administrator. So it's still her responsibility to make sure that that room is covered. No anchor charts to be visible. Now, one thing we did talk about, the students have the ACE cards on their desk. We decided that we're going to have the learning coach just kind of cover that up with some thick paper and tape it down so that it's not visible. So we're not just lifting it up and then putting it back.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Remind me tomorrow. Remind me. That is a task for learning coaches.
Yes.
Tomorrow we have end of cycle assessment. There's no team center.
No.
That's their task to do.
Yes, they can cover all of those ACE cards.
We need to give them the testing plan. Let's assign them the rooms that they have to cover those.
Okay, all right. All right, and then of course, I'm on number the second one. The test administrator did not use the test administrative manual during testing and did not read the same directions to students prior to testing. So if you've ever tested before, I think everyone here has tested before. But in the testing manual, there's actually a part where you have to say the words verbatim. It'll usually be in italics or bolded. As a test administrator, it is a state requirement that we read those directions verbatim, word for word. If not, it would be considered a procedural irregularity. Okay.
Although we have identified Ms. Brown, Ms. Jolivet, and Ms. Williams to be test administrators, but these troopers, they know. I pulled out Thornton before. I pulled out Jones last time. I pulled out Green last time. So just be on standby and on alert.
Yeah, things happen all the time. Maybe that day Ms. Jolivet just can't come to work for whatever reason. Next person on deck. Next person on deck. So third bullet, test administrator did not properly complete the required seating chart, which is a big deal. And we're going to go over that with you later in this training. But on your seating chart, you need to make sure the student name, the TSDS number, where you are in the classroom, and how the students are seated. And that is part of the testing. And then, of course, the fourth bullet did not provide sufficient time to test. Remember, they have 7 hours. They have 7 hours to test, right? And so our job is to kind of pace them along the way. You see them asleep, nudge them, wake them up, get them back on track. Okay. And then, of course, next part, a test administrator did not actively monitor students and did not ensure that students working independently during the test are preventing them from using cell phones. Monitor, monitor, monitor. Keep them on task, walk the room, make sure there's no cell phones being used. Any questions so far? I know there's a lot of information, but a lot of us are seasoned test administrators. This one too?
Yes, well, that is also like equally important. That's serious testing violation. That is gonna cause your teaching certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yes, serious violation. So, and then they give you an example of the violation and the examples. But the main thing is that don't tamper with their responses. Don't help them. Don't put their hands on their laptops and type anything for them. Just leave it like that. So do not tamper. And do not, and they'll ask you to translate for them. How do you say this word? Again, they just tell them do the best you can. Keep it moving. Okay. Falsifying student records is another serious violation.
There's no
Discussing
chance for you
consent.
to be doing that because that's holistic rating. Elementary does that. We don't do that.
Okay, all right. Oh yeah, it's not the online test. It's once they submit, the test is submitted. So this is more if they're doing paper tests. Okay. Let's see.
Go back, Ms. Miles, there's something.
Something.
Viewing secure test content before doing or after the administration.
Mhm.
You wanna expound that one?
Yeah.
Every minute's left.
So basically, as you're monitoring, you don't want to be standing too like behind. For example, let's say that Ms. Williams is taking the test, and I just go right here and I'm standing behind her and looking at her laptop for extended time. Okay, we don't want to do that. That is a serious violation. So we want to make sure that we're not viewing the test or discussing the contents of what's on the test. Oh, these kids had a really easy test. I think they're going to do well. That would be a violation. So please do not do that. Did I miss anything? All right. And again, more
Duplicating
Duplicating reporting.
no chance for you to do that. That's not a main concern. The next one, yes, Ms. Miles, you can do that.
Yeah, responding to test secure questions. So in other words, you cannot give students the answers or help them with the answer. They're going to ask. So especially your beginners and your newcomers, how do you say this word? What does this mean? Say we don't want to help them in any way. So do the best you can and keep going. All
The
right.
darker purple, not a concern. That's an hours because once they're on your roster, you test them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, of course, providing them with unallowable assistance during the calibration activities. So, like, do not discuss and share how they're responding to the calibration activities. Anything here? Again, we don't want to encourage or assist them to engage in conduct described above or serious violations. Failing to report an appropriate authority that a violation has occurred. So if you see a student on the cell phone and you don't report it, that would be a violation.
Yeah, and this is an incident that would happen in 8th grade. You know how students would fabricate stories. Let's say, for example, they would say, you know what, Miss Williams, like that really helped me, like this was easy, Miss Williams helped me. And they would go home and tell their parents that. And their parents, they start calling and talking and telling. And then when the investigation would be conducted and it was found out that Ms. Jones was there as well, but did not even mind reporting, Ms. Jones will be in trouble as well. That is what it says, failure to report on appropriate authority that an individual has engaged in or is suspected to engage in. So do not put your colleague in an uncomfortable or compromising situation. Just don't say anything about the test.
Right, just don't know anything. And then, of course, fail to implement sufficient procedures to prevent student cheating. Again, make sure that we want to make sure those backpacks are put in the front of the room, so that way there's no reason that cell phone. They're going to try it. They may hide the cell phone. That'll be on the student. Make sure you call that test administrator. We will take care of it. But make sure you're doing your part and making sure that those phones, they don't have access to these phones. And then, of course, accommodation in unexpected or emergency situations. We know that that's going to occur.
Read the last sentence. Let's say
That
that's
last
summarized.
sentence?
Yeah.
Okay, so that last sentence says test administrators, that would be you, should inform their campus coordinator or CTC, that's Beyond Turner, Dr. Brown, if an unexpected or emergency situation arises.
And what are these examples of emergency situations? Let's say there's lockdown. We don't know what's going to happen around the community. Let's say there's power interruption. let's say there is like storm on that day, there is something, emergency that happens, don't panic, just let the test coordinator, campus test coordinator know, or any administrator, because Miles, Coral and I will be monitoring the whole way, so just let us know, and then we'll decide over that matter.
Any questions there? Yes, ma'am.
Or am I not, in my own room, I'm not testing my room?
You are not. You are
No.
testing in room 532 because you will be joining the 6th grade team. So we want to confine them in the same like
Same
area.
Mhm. Yeah, because 8th grade will be actually in your section.
Yeah, in that
Yeah, I
one.
had a teacher come to me and say,
Yes.
that, so I'm supposed to go to their room and cover? Their-
Yeah, yes.
You can seek assistance during your planning period or your
Mhm.
exam. We will make arrangements. But that room actually is vacant, so there's not much to be.
Yeah, I think Mr. Lewis had that room, but it's not a lot of stuff
No,
up in
it's
that
not.
room.
It's a vacant. It's
Yeah.
530.
Your thing was to make sure that it's in that horseshoe formation. Okay.
But that's it.
That's
We
it.
talked about proper testing environment. Yes, make sure that you take care of the room that you will be testing. Thank you, Ms. Miles. Great job. I'll give you your grade.
Okay.
You can switch that because the testing one is here.
And then that is the recording.